For me, what I want is kind of secondary to what you want. My little goal is to put a lot of 10-minute clips together to begin to paint a whole panorama of, you know, I did a channeling here, or I had this there, or this ET did that, and, you know, and that kind of build up a whole spectrum of that. That's what the disclosure is about. So those are the two things. One is the 10-minute clip of an overview. That's what my first preference is. And
absolutely,
what your need is. If you need to tell a long story or several clips of 2 or 3 stories stuck together, I say go for it.
Yeah, I think one of the remedies I have for myself is the work you're doing is prompting me to do this. So I want to definitely help you. And it's also, I'm thinking I just need to learn how to do YouTube videos and do a YouTube channel. And that way so I can sleep at night. You know what I mean?
Well,
so that's my idea.
That spirit, you know, poking you like, look, this is important. Get it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Leave it to your kids, or let your cousin know, or whatever it is. You know, that's. I ended up making 32 videos or something last year because I had this information that I needed to get out. So I made a whole little section of what I do.
Something happened. There's a couple of things that's been going on with me that it's sort of they kind of cancel each other out in a way. And one of it is I've been really heavily involved in the because of part of my lifetime experience, background, family background, whatever, and abuse issues. I've been really interested in what do they call it? The state, the deep state, and all that's going on with the pedophile rings and all this shit.
Yeah. Well,
and it's been bringing me down, of course, right?
If you have that in your history, it would.
Well, I think it's the time of transparency. Things are coming to the surface. It's the time to let go of what doesn't serve, right? So it's coming to the surface. And I'm being triggered. Well, I think Spirit's telling me it's time to let go of that dark door and do something else. And so anyway, I had a dream the other night that basically, I just think it was like Spirit's way of communicating, or my higher self communicating with my subconscious, or whatever you want to say. In the dream, there's a person that I know that is a friend, but they're not trustworthy, and they're with somebody else who's this big guy, a very big person, kind of a bully kind of person. And I challenged him to a fight. And so we set a time and a day, like the next day. And I come into, it's like a square, like a schoolyard. And I walk up to him and I shake his hand and I said, I don't want to fight you. I don't want to get hurt. And he said, well, you shouldn't have said anything. And then I woke up. And so that kind of was a message to me. And the other thing is the other night, I'll back up. In Orrington a few years ago, I might have already told you this. I was alone in the house, and at 3:30 in the morning, I fell asleep on the couch, and it's out in the woods. And I got a message, basically if someone was mind-to-mind communication. I don't know what else to call it. It said, go outside and look up. So I was like, and I've heard this voice many times. So I said, okay. So I got up and I went outside and I looked up, and sure enough, there was a light that was coming from the west to east, right over my head. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't a helicopter. It wasn't a satellite. And I'm looking at it, and as it's going over my head, I thought to myself, I wished I had a laser that I could signal it to see if what it is what I think it is. And before I even had the thought, before I finished the thought, it basically did it got big and bright for a moment, and then continued and went back down and then continued and then just went away, disappeared. So the other night, I was down in my car. I drove overlooking the Penobscot River and looking at the sky. So, so basically the light side of all that, okay, I was kind of like immersed in this dark whatever, trying to fight the fight. But the other side is the spiritual side, and that's what happened the other night. So I told you what happened a few years ago in Norrington. So I'm about to end all evening. I'm driving around in my car and I'm thinking about all my experiences that I've had, and I'm thinking about the C5 work, and it's just like going all through my mind, and I'm enjoying it, but it's kind of make curious because like, wow, it's really kind of coming up. And I'm sitting there in my car, and I stand up and I'm looking at the sky, overlooking the river, and I see this light coming from the east, this time from the east. And it was going over my head, and I'm thinking to myself, geez, I wonder if that's the same guys, beings, whatever. And before I even finished the thought, it got super bright. Like the first time it was reddish orange, but this time it was like really white. Like, and then and if you weren't looking at the sky and paying attention, you probably wouldn't see it. But first I saw it, it was very small, and then it got really big and bright, and then no sound, no sound. So that just kind of prompted me thinking like, okay, all right, I get it. All right, let's move on. Let's do something here, So anyway, that's kind of what's been going on with me.
That was clearly psychic contact. I mean, that's a very common power up, or they move, change, some kind of change color or something. There's no question about it. And it's kind of life-changing because, if you follow it, it means that those guys, if they're around and you cast your consciousness to them, they're right there. So there's no separation.
Transparency, yeah.
Transparency, yeah. And other people have had, and I mean, if they can actually take you out of the house, that's pretty amazing, really.
Well, I've definitely had out-of-body experiences with ETs for sure, and I've definitely had certain adventures, in that area. But something else just occurred to me as we were talking, and this woman that I dated back in Colorado, she was probably one of the most high vibrational people that I've personally had a relationship with, any kind of relationship with. So we were lying there on the bed one day, just relaxing, and I had the thought went through my mind, Jesus, I wish that I'd like to hear Journey, the album, the band Journey. It's like, I wish her stereo was in the corner. I was like, oh, I wish we could listen to Journey on the stereo. And that was just a thought that went through my mind. And again, as soon as I had the thought, I mean, immediately, the stereo came on in full blast by itself, Journey. And my jaw dropped, and I'm looking at her, and she's smiling at me, and I'm like, what did she say? I said, do you ever get the feeling that you're being watched? And she said, we are. All the time. And I was like, wow, man, this is intense. So anyway, I just was reminded about that last night as I was thinking about it for some reason.
Yeah, precognition. We're the veil is lifting, so to say.
Yeah, that was about 10 years ago.
And all this kind of stuff, synchronicities, the Mandela effect, downloads of information, contact with ETs, talking to the spirit world, talking to the trees, talking to the Sasquatch, people involved with the Lady of the Lake and the mountains, and people talking to animals, people talking to dolphins, and it's just, it's a conscious universe.
And we can departmentalize, so to speak, all these different things that people are experiencing. But for me, it seems like there's so much bleed through. It's sort of like, I can't differentiate sometimes between angels and ETs, for instance. You know what I mean? Or telepathy versus omniscience, not omniscience. What's the clairomniscience, when you just kind of know things without knowing how.
Yeah.
And it's all related. In Tibetan Buddhism, they say that, I believe this is true, what they say, if I'm remembering correctly, that there are bhumis and relative bhumis and absolute bhumis. Bhumis are spiritual powers. And there's like an infinite number of spiritual powers, but there's only one absolute spiritual power, that's enlightenment.